We're all trying to build a better version of ourselves. But most of us think of life as this one big project we've got to get right or perfect the first time round. But what if instead we approached it in the same way a developer would? Looking at it like a big project that you can iterate on and improve on with each version. And that's what this video is all about. Looking at the principles that I've learned through working in tech and working in an agile way, and how this can help improve our lives. So I already did a part 1 on this, where I explored these concepts and the software engineering principles that can carry across to our lives. But I have so much to say on this topic, so here's a part 2. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Becca. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time Pilates instructor, and someone with multiple interests and multiple different passions. I love sharing bits of my life, insights into my career, tips on productivity, and everything in between. So if you're interested, don't forget to subscribe, but let's get straight into the video. In software development, one way of working is what's called Agile development. Now, you've probably heard of Agile before, because I feel like Agile is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown about a lot. But essentially, Agile development is where you're breaking down a big feature or a big project into smaller time-boxed increments, what we call sprints. So instead of delivering a huge feature and waiting till the very end to get that feedback, you're breaking this down into smaller chunks. You're getting feedback along the way, you're iterating on that, you're taking that feedback to then improve what you have, adapting and continually making changes until you get to that final product. So the Agile approach allows for feedback, it allows for collaboration, continuous improvement, and it better aligns with the solution that users want and customers need. So instead of going off on a tangent and building something that is not really relevant to what is needed either by the market or the customers or whatever direction, what is kind of useful, you're making sure that you're aligning with all those things and that your project is actually going in the right direction. So there's an Agile manifesto which outlines the key areas and the things that it wants to emphasize. So things such as collaboration, adapting to change, listening to feedback, and having working software. And before Agile became popular, you had what's called the Waterfall method. So this is where you would build the project, you have the plan set out from the start, you know exactly what's going into your work for the next however many months, you stick to that plan, and then you have that feature at the end that you then test and get user feedback on. So it's very structured, but the problem with this is it means that you don't catch any mistakes or any issues or any kind of negative feedback until the very end. And by that point, it's kind of too late to change what you already have, or you feel like you've wasted a lot of time and a lot of effort over those many months. And that's why Agile came along, because it's focused on getting that feedback along the way, changing your process, adapting to that change, and building things as you go. And I think we can apply this same Agile mindset to our lives. So instead of working that waterfall way, where you have this end goal and you think about the massive dream at the end and you kind of work your way towards that, that can sometimes feel overwhelming. So we kind of want to avoid that. And we want to think about the journey to get there. We want to think about allowing ourselves to adapt and change and just focus on the next kind of sprint, what we're going to focus on to, which will eventually get us to our big goal. But we want to break that process down and review things along the way, get that feedback maybe from our own documentation, our own kind of progress, however we want to track it, or from speaking to other people. We want to continue evolving and I guess working on our lives in the same iterative way like we would do for a project. So instead of fixating on that end goal, we think of the journey behind that goal, and we think of the experiments we can make. We think of the different things we can try out, and if things fail, that's okay because we haven't gone too deep into it. We can always adapt, change, find a new course, and find our way back on track. And of course, we all know that progress isn't linear. It will go up and down. Maybe you take one step backwards to take 2 steps forwards and all that stuff. But working in this agile way, that's completely allowed. It takes the pressure off that end goal and it focuses more on the journey behind that. And obviously, we always hope that there is progress over time, but the focus now is more on doing things in small sprints and having that experimentation behind everything. Now that's where the idea of the MVP or minimum viable product comes in. So in software, an MVP is where you have the smallest, simplest version of a working product that adds real value to something. And you get it out there, you see how it performs, you gather that feedback, and then you build on it from there. And you might have seen this diagram before. So the idea is that when you're building a car, instead of starting with the wheels and then the frame and then the body, you're breaking it down to always provide value at every stage, but in the smallest way possible. So starting with maybe a skateboard, then going on to a scooter, then a bike, and then eventually a car. Each step provides value. And it means that if you only were able to stop at the halfway stage, you still had something that is working and something that you can get feedback on before building everything in one go and only being able to get feedback right at the very last stage. Each version of this car or variation of the car is in a usable format and it teaches you something which you can take on to the next version. And it's the exact same thing in life. So too often we wait until everything is perfect until we start or until we put that project out there, until we want to show our friends or get feedback from people around us, maybe mentors or whoever. We wait until we have that final perfect version, the polished version, before doing any of that extra work. But the MVP mindset says just start small. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, just start. You don't need to aim for the final version straight away. You just need to aim for the first version, get it out there, get some feedback, and then use that as your foundation for the rest of the journey. So if you're trying to build a new habit, the MVP might be starting with 5 minutes a day. Or if you're starting a YouTube channel, maybe your MVP is just getting your first few videos out there instead of waiting until you have the perfect setup or the perfect lighting, the perfect recording equipment. Just get something out there, see how it performs and build from that. And that might help you change your direction. But you'll never know until you get something, no matter how small, out there. Focus on the smallest improvements you can make. Each day, think about what can you do to be even just 1% better than the version you were the previous day. And it's these small, consistent little things that we do that compound to build real big progress over time. Now, Agile teams manage a backlog. So this is a list of work, a list of tasks that need doing that aren't currently being worked on, but it's agreed that they will be worked on in the future. And it's usually ordered by priority. So you typically have the highest priority at the top, and that's usually what you bring into the next sprint. So you know that you can't do everything at once, and you're kind of agreeing that what you have in your current sprint is what you're currently focusing on, and what's in your backlog you'll get to later, but you do know the priority and you know when you're bringing it in. At the same time as that, you usually have tech debt. So this is work that has been maybe neglected for a while. Maybe it's in the back of your mind that you know it needs fixing and you know it needs cleaning up, or you know it needs revisiting at a later point. And tech debt is something that, if not addressed, it usually builds up and can often get worse, and the effects of it can maybe spread across to other systems or create extra issues if it's not revisited or not sorted. And it's the exact same thing in life. So We all have that backlog of habits and dreams and goals that we want to work on. And we all carry personal tech debt. So maybe it's unresolved issues or things we know we need to fix, bad habits we know we need to get rid of. And ignoring these issues too long, again, can create bigger problems down the line. In life, just like in the projects, we know we can't do all of that all at once. So we need to prioritize what we want to focus on right now and what we want to focus on next. So maybe you want to create your own sprints in 2 weeks or a couple months, or revisit your goals every 3 months, or however often you want to do this. You just make sure that you know what list you're managing and what your current focus is. And addressing all these things little by little makes it so much more manageable. The next thing we can take from the software development workflow is sprint reviews and retros. So in Agile, teams don't wait until the very end to get feedback on their work. They have regular reviews to show progress, even if it is a work in progress. And then when the product is at a stable state, they also have more reviews on this work. For example, some teams have what's called a sprint review in the middle of a sprint. And this kind of helps show the progress so far, address any questions, any feedback before they continue building till the end of the sprint. And at the end of a sprint, teams usually have a retro or retrospective. And this is where you reflect on what went well, what didn't go so well, and what could be improved for next time. And these are all such valuable conversations to have. And I think they could be so valuable in real life as well. You could do the same by scheduling regular checkups, either with just yourself or with maybe any friends or family members or your partner or anyone who you have that can maybe hold you accountable for all of your goals. So maybe a midway check-in halfway through the month to assess where you are in your progress. Or maybe at the end of the month, you want to just reflect on what went well the past month and what kind of energy or what new goals you want to bring into the following month. So one of the values in the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So it's about teamwork and communication and collaboration. And I think the same is true in life. You don't have to do everything alone. So you want to be around people that are going to support you, are going to kind of be your biggest cheerleader and support you through your goals, help you grow and be the best version of yourself. Similarly, you want to support those people around you in the same way. In engineering, pairing with another developer helps you have another pair of eyes on that project. It helps you spot mistakes, maybe through code reviews or even just talking through problems aloud, helps you realize anything you might have missed or any blind spots you might have had. And life is no different. Talking through things with friends or mentors or other people around you can help you spot things that you might not have realized. It can help you see things in a different way. It can help you have a new and fresh perspective on something you might have been working on for a long time, or it can help you come out of moments where you felt stuck or not sure how to progress. Collaboration also keeps you accountable. So sharing your goals with someone, maybe a friend, maybe a mentor or a coach, can help keep you on track. And even just small updates along the way can help make you keep that momentum going. And it can help keep you motivated as well. So having someone to share it with, to give you feedback and to push you along and just to share that journey with, keeps that momentum and that motivation going. Remember that even the best engineers don't work in isolation. They work with a team. And the same thing goes for life. Your progress multiplies when you have people around you pushing you and helping you grow. And speaking of growth, another lesson from engineering that we can apply beautifully to life is responding to change. One of the core principles of Agile is adaptability. being able to respond to new information, new feedback, and incorporating that into future versions. And I think that's such a powerful lesson for life. Now, this is something that I'm personally always working on because I love having a plan. I love having set goals and a vision and an idea of where I'm going to get to. And I do think that is still so important, but I also believe that we need to also learn to be flexible on the other hand. We need to leave space for flexibility and allow plans to change because we all know that life doesn't always go to plan. And it can often feel quite scary when we change our minds or we deviate from the original plan. And stepping into the unknown can sometimes feel quite scary. But I'm realizing that changing your mind or changing the direction of your life isn't giving up. It's just adapting to what's happening. And you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to figure these things out as you go. And naturally, your life will never stick to a plan that you have. Almost everything in life is reversible. You can pivot, you can start afresh, you can change course, and you can acknowledge that maybe certain things aren't working for you anymore, or maybe your priorities have evolved. And when we embrace that, we take the pressure off needing to have everything perfect and needing to know everything right now. Because just like in software, life can always throw new requirements at us, or the plan can always change. So we need to be able to adapt and continue moving forwards. So if we take a step back, all of these agile concepts are not just applicable to tech and the software development lifecycle. As cheesy as it sounds, they're also great lessons for life. Life, like software, is a continual process of learning, improving, iterating, and building upon all of those experiences. You don't have to have it all figured out from the start, and you definitely don't have to do it alone. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something. If you did, it would mean the world if you can please like, subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to see next time. Thanks for watching.